Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Black Brain Trust. This is an addendum for Black Tech layoff discussion. There was a email discussion that was happening offline um, that I wanted to kind of address in the public because I was being told something different um, than what the article actually stipulated that was sent out. That this has to do with something other than what was proposed in the article. So I wanted to read the article publicly so that people can understand what's going on because I've been in the tech field for probably majority of my life and been a part of the startup sector and various other sectors and just wanted to actually address this whole tech layoff thing. I know we covered it early in the week, but this article in particular is being spun out of proportion than what was already highlighted in the article itself. Um, Sometimes information gets memed, and then that meme gets extrapolated into other things, and then it gets put in the ether as if it's as if that's fact, and it's really not fact. It's actually hearsay. And so I wanted to make sure I covered this publicly because I don't want things to. I don't like when I hear certain things in the space get said that's not factually true, but it's put out there as fact. So I wanted to make sure I address this. So let me share my screen real quick with some of you all who are going to be watching. All right. All right. This is from the Wall Street Journal. This was posted earlier today. We had an email stream, and it is titled "Tech Layoffs Hit H-1B Visa Workers Hard." When many visa holders lose a job, they have 60 days to find a new one or go home. Okay. When she lost her job at Google last month, Jing Tan started worrying about her dog and energetic 75-pound German Shepherd. As a foreign worker living in the US on a temporary work visa, if she couldn't find a job within 60 days, she feared she might have to return home to her country, China. In big Chinese cities where tech jobs are, keeping large dogs as pets is often isn't allowed. She also fretted she might have to sell or rent out her house, which she bought in the Bay Area last year. Mrs. Tan's husband, who is also in the US on an H-1B visa and works in tech, remains employed, but they are concerned about his job as well. Quote, "We're anxious every day," says Ms. Tan, who lived in the US since 2018. Layoffs have rippled across the tech industry with more than 250,000 job cuts since last year. Given the pullback in tech, laid off foreign workers seeking new jobs are in especially bad straits, says Lena Sujan, who runs a tech-focused recruiting firm. Many tech companies she works with are telling her they are reluctant to move ahead with hires, whether candidates have H-1B visas or not. Quote, "We're at a screeching halt right now," she says. The number of tech jobs in the US declined by 32,000 last month, according to IT industry trade group CompTIA. There were 269,000 tech job postings in January, CompTIA says, down from a record high of 394,000 job postings last March. While there is no reliable way to track how many workers on temporary visas have been laid off, those in the industry estimate that tens of thousands have been affected. Foreign-born workers, including green card holders, naturalized citizens, and those on temporary work visas, account for nearly 1/4 of all workers in the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, according to a 2019 estimate from the American Immigration Council, up from 16% in 2000. If H-1B workers can't find new employment within a few weeks or apply to transfer to another visa, they must leave the US. They must leave the US. In other cases, immigration lawyers who specialize in employment law say those laid off while traveling outside the US now find themselves stuck outside the country with their work visa no longer valid for reentry. They range from those who have been in the US for decades to recent graduates like Susant Aurora, who received his master's degree in project management in the US in 2021 until last month was employed as an analyst at a data analytics company in Boston. Mr. Aurora, an Indian national who was laid off last month, says a 60-day timetable to find a new job isn't nearly enough, given the amount of time it often takes to hear back from prospective employers in advance through technical tests and interview rounds. It's like a nightmare. Quote, he says, since being laid off, Mr. Aurora estimates he has applied for between 500 and 600 jobs and had 3 interviews. Given the current job market, he says he would be happy for any opportunity that comes his way. I can't be picky. In some cases, laid off tech workers find themselves in an uneasy limbo, as in the case of Newman Vong, who until December worked for Twitter on a temporary work visa available to Australian nationals. Mr. Vong was on vacation in Malaysia when he learned he was laid off. To avoid complications, he has been staying in his home country of Australia. His neighbor in Los Angeles has been taking his car for occasional drives so the battery won't die. Another friend is watering his plants. His apartment sits empty. As a worker on a temporary visa, he says he has felt a constant pressure to hustle and move his worth. Quote, I've been fighting so hard to stay in the US for the last decade, says Mr. Vong, who has lived in California for most of that time. California is my home, and all my friends are there. The 60-day grace period that foreign workers have to remain in the US and try to secure new jobs doesn't apply to those who are laid off while abroad, says Heba Mona Anva, a partner at Erickson Immigration Group, a law firm based in Arlington, Virginia. If a worker on a temporary work visa has their role terminated while they are traveling out of the country, she says that visa is no longer valid for reentry unless the worker manages to secure another job while abroad. Some companies have been extending foreign employees termination dates to try to give them more of a cushion to find a new role, says Sophie Alcorn, founder of Silicon Valley-based Alcorn Immigration Law, which advises tech companies that hire foreign workers. But in most cases, companies have scant obligations to such workers. In the case of H-1B visas, she says the most common temporary work visa held by tech workers, the only legal requirement companies have is to notify federal authorities of workers' termination and pay for their airfare home. Companies aren't allowed to consider national origin when determining whom to terminate, says Ms. Alcorn said. Ms. Alcorn says, quote, it's at will employment, she says. Anyone can quit and anyone can be fired. Okay. So what's happening in these discussions is that some people are projecting ideas out here that borrowed money is the reason why this is happening. This is a faulty narrative at best. It doesn't reflect all the nuances that go into employment and what's happening in the industry as a whole. And so it's the whole entire industry of STEM that this is happening. And it's not just one issue of, money's drying up or something to that effect, right? Borrowed money, right? It's not borrowed money. You have to explain that. These are very loose terms that get thrown around here. And I want to make sure that I want to dispel these sort of ideas and myths that get put out here. So let me pull up another item here. We cover this stuff pretty frequently. So I just want to make sure that you're armed with the right amount of information, because there are a lot of people who want to sell you bad information around here. So let me grab this real quick. Here we go. Let me share my screen real quick. All right, this is from Crunchbase. Okay, Crunchbase is a specific website that caters to the tech industry as a whole. So let me just read this off real quick. Tech layoff. This came out just a few minutes ago. Okay, tech layoffs. U.S. companies that have cut jobs in 2022 and 2023. This is keeping a catalog database of all the companies that have laid off. The U.S. tech sector layoffs continue. Tech giants like Dell and Yahoo were just a few of the companies that announced sweeping layoffs this week. More than 77,000 workers in the US-based tech companies have been laid off in mass job cuts so far in 2023, according to a Crunchbase news tally, and the year is just getting started. That number includes Dell's 6,650 person cut and Zoom's 1,300 person layoff announced this week. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's really just cataloging all the companies, it's keeping track of all the companies that are laying off. And so Yahoo laid off 1,600, and it's showing you a list of companies as they trickle in, as they cover and gather all this information about who's laying off and which ones are laying off. Okay. And so there's a term that's being thrown around here. Let me see if I can pull the term back up. It's borrowed money. Okay. In the tech industry, the term borrowed money is usually referred to startups that are beyond their usually. And so let me put it like this: in the startup industry or in the startup sector, companies usually start from angel investing, pre-seed, seed, and then they go into series of investing after that: Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, and possibly potentially Series E before they really turn growth. For example, Facebook between 2006 and 2016 had no record growth at all. They didn't turn any growth. Okay. 10 years without growth. Usually, if a company doesn't have any growth by the third or fourth year, they're usually out of business. This is not uncommon. And so the borrowed money term means that they're they operate in the negative almost at all times, and so they need to constantly be fed more money from VCs, from venture capitalists. Last year, early last year, around early 2022, there was some discussion about from VCs slowing down their investing in startups, and what they were telling people or telling founders was that you need to start laying off people in order to restructure, because they don't want to put more money into a company if they don't see any growth. And so this started early last year. And so the ripple effect of all of that was other companies also started to lay off. Okay. Established companies. Now, let me roll this back up. Tech giants Dell and Yahoo were just a few of the companies that had announced sweeping layoffs this week. Dell is a legacy company. Okay. They're over 30 years old. They're not a startup. Dell has major contracts with the federal government and many other private institutions, such as college campuses and other academic institutions and whatnot. Okay. A lot of their bread and butter does come from the government and the military specifically. So they're not operating in the negative, but they decided to lay off anyways. They're not on borrowed money. They have money. In fact, they have billions of dollars. So they're not borrowing anything or on borrowed money. The term borrowed money only applies in the startup sector. It doesn't apply to established companies like Dell and IBM and Yahoo, right? Yahoo has money. They're not really that much of a tech firm. They're more of a social media organization, but they're not actually, uh, impacted by the same sort of nuances that other legacy companies have. Although Yahoo can be put in that same category as Dell, right? They're kind of a legacy 20th century company that is reinventing itself. And so I'm saying all that so that people understand, because I know some people who read these emails may not understand why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. The article that was this article here. I don't know if anybody can see this. Maybe people can't see it. I don't know. Oh no, you know what? You can't see it. Let me share it again. All right. This article here is talking about something radically different than borrowed money. It has nothing to do with borrowed money. Borrowed money is a very specific term for a very specific incident that happens. The H-1B visa thing that they're talking about is the impact of layoffs. They're not talking about borrowed money. There's nothing in the article that even stipulates borrowed money at all. It's just talking about what happens to an H-1B visa when they get laid off in the tech sector. Okay. This has nothing to do with borrowed money. And so I'm saying all this so that people understand that some content creators and some of your chat people will throw out terms that are very loose and they use it, outside of its context, its immediate context. This article has nothing to do with borrowed money. Okay. Tech layoffs hit H-1B visa workers hard. Okay. When many visa holders lose a job, they have 60 days to find a new one or go home. This has nothing to do with borrowed money or anything like that. What I find to be really catastrophic about this space is that everyone's an expert in things that they don't really, have any experience in. I know many people have been laid off here locally that have nothing to do with borrowed money. It has nothing to do with that. What happened during the pandemic was a lot of these companies hired a lot of people that, let's say they hired 20,000 people, but their office only has a capacity for, let's say, 8,000. That's not uncommon. The 8,000 person organization that's always on site, that's not uncommon. But what happened during the pandemic was they made a rapid, they went through a lot of rapid hiring. Okay. They had the capacity to do it and they had a lot of resources to do it with. When it was time to go back into the office, there was not enough seating for a lot of these people. Okay. And so they had to make some tough decisions not to bring some people back into the office. That's one issue. The other issue is the unionization of a lot of tech people. They don't want tech people creating unions at all. They have no interest in that at all, because then you start having, because the tech sector has never had unionization, not at a mass scale level. This unionization talk is something that's relatively new. Go back 10, 15, 20 years, that was unheard of to talk about a union or unionization within any tech organization. But by law, they have the right to organize and create a union. Okay. Tech companies don't want unions because they don't want to have to bargain with people. Okay. That's the whole purpose of having H-1B visas. That's what this article is really talking about, the impact of H-1B visas. The reason why you have so many H-1B visas in tech is because you're trying to scale your human resources, scale your human capital, and you don't have enough human capital that's developed here. So you have to figure out a way to make it scale. And that's that's bringing in H-1B visas, especially if they're not paying them all that much to begin with, in some cases. And so I just find it interesting, and I find it kind of frustrating, at the same time, that some people just largely are uninformed, for lack of a better description. Um, a lot of people are just going around throwing uh, terms out there that really confuse people in this space. I understand there's a lot of people in this space that haven't worked in the tech sector and don't necessarily understand all of the nuances that go into um, trying to build companies and trying to be in the industry long term. Um, Actually, let me bring this article up because I think this might be relevant to this discussion as well, because I just got this in my inbox. I know some of this is boring to some people, but this is really important so that people understand what's going on here. And I'll drop the link in the chat as soon as I get finished reading this. And if anybody wants to come up, they can come up. If not, we can peel up out of here. All right, this is from Fortune. This came out earlier, a few minutes ago, or actually this morning. Apple has avoided the tech layoff wave that hit Google and Amazon because it made one key decision. Okay. There's a reason why Apple Incorporated is under less pressure than tech peers to slash jobs during the current slowdown. It hired more efficiently in the first place. During the industry's pandemic fueled hiring binge, Apple added fewer employees than other big tech firms. On top of that, the company generated far more revenue per new hire than its peers, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. That more cautious approach is paying off now, though Apple has frozen hiring in some areas and is keeping a lid on spending, especially outside of research and development. It hasn't yet resorted to the mass layoffs under at Amazon.com Incorporated, Alphabet Incorporated, Google, and Meta Platforms Incorporated, and other tech giants. Quote, this signals a better quality of management at Apple compared to other tech companies that clearly read the signals during the pandemic the wrong way, said Saxo Bank AS's Peter Garney. The company announced plans to shore up its human resources this week by hiring its first chief people officer. HR duties had been overseen by retail chief Dietrich O'Brien in a dual role. Many tech companies admit that they hired too much during the pandemic, betting that lifestyle changes, including remote work, e-commerce, spending, and video game habits, would bring a bigger windfall. Now they are dealing with the aftermath. Zoom Technologies Incorporated, one of the biggest beneficiaries of COVID-19 lockdowns, just announced this week that it was cutting 15% of its jobs. So this is what I'm saying. There's more nuance. It's way more nuance than to use a term, okay, than to be using these loose terms called borrowed money. It's not that easy. You don't just write it off and just say, well, that's just, somebody cut the spigot off. No, not exactly. Okay. This article is telling you this. Okay. I mentioned this earlier, that a lot of companies brought a lot of people in when they did not have the capacity to do so, because they wanted, they thought that they were going to ride this out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Nobody knew when they were going to come back. Okay. So let me drop the link in the chat if anybody has any questions. If not, man, we'll peel up out of here, man. Man, this StreamYards, man, this stuff really eats up your resources. Let me go through the comments. Underrated Mind, what's going on? Peace. Ollie Doss, what's going on? Bati Thug, what's going on? Tech jobs, let me see. Tech jobs are susceptible to booms and busts based on an instability of innovation. This is true. This is true. Ayo, peace, what's going on, man? Floyd Holt, peace, what's going on? Uncle Stu, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, Complex?
Yo, Mike V, what's good, man? You hear me?
I'm chilling, bro. What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. You know what? This is pretty good addendum, actually, to the live stream we did. What was it? Was it yesterday?
Tuesday.
No, 2 days ago. I was a key to auto yesterday. Yeah, my days are just kind of getting glued together. But I think to your point about the hiring needs of tech companies during like the pandemic, that was a key point. That's a nuance that's largely missed.
Yep.
And I think that speaks to a lot of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. I think typically what happens, I don't know if you saw the email chain, but I was on it and I decided that I was going to comment on it, and I just wanted to make sure that as I comment on it, I don't get into a back and forth. I wanted to make sure I provided the substantial evidence to what I'm saying. And
I'm gonna have to dig in the email in my email to catch that chain. So I figured this probably was inspired by something, because usually if it's an addendum, it is right. Okay. All right. Well, then, all right. We'll talk about that privately, and then I'll dig that email up.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Peace. Hey, Shaw Willie, what's going on?
Greetings. Hey. How are you?
Good.
Happy
How are you?
Friday. I am well. I'd probably be better if I had more vitamin C, but
I knew that was coming.
I'll talk
Those
about
oranges
that
are getting pulled
day.
off the tree here next week, and I need to give them another week. They still got some green on them, but
Okay. Deal. I had a few questions about the tech because I'm new to everything. I'm still trying to learn. But what I'm seeing is, I understand that they might have too many people, but I'm finding that they're bringing them back. They'll lay off a lot of people and they'll bring them about part-time, so it's not like a full-time gig, if you will, but it is like seasonal, or you'll have several gigs which will earn you the money that you had when you worked for one company. Is that something you're seeing, or am I reading that wrong?
I think some companies do that because they're trying to work out a way so that these people don't get deported, these H-1B visas in particular.
Okay.
And so, in order to kind of extend their time, they may let them go and then rehire them, as a part-time worker, right? As a part-time contractor. And so then they have, another 60 to 90 days to kind of stretch out before they find something different.
And Mike, I wanted to speak to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish, man. I want to speak to what you just said about the contracting.
No, and I'm just saying that to what Shaw Willie is asking, companies are trying to figure out a way not to lose all this human capital at once, because I've read stories, people crying in the office, especially at Twitter and some of these places, breakdowns.
Google.
It has a ripple effect, because other people who may have not been laid off may be thinking, I need to get up out of here too. Right. And so they don't really want to break up teams like that, because there's a camaraderie that's built up in there during the pandemic. Right. And so you don't really want to lose all of that. So they're trying to figure out a way to really stave it off by bringing people back part-time on contract and then finding them something different somewhere else.
Okay.
I would also say to that, Charlie, it's because it's literally what Mike said. But let's give it another layer, right? So T Riller asks, is this a market correction? Is saying this is a market correction being too general? No. In all actuality, that's again what we're kind of pointing to here, is like the hiring needs of tech firms, because when everybody had to do stuff from home, guess what? Everybody had to rely on tech. And guess what the tech companies needed? They needed employees. Right? So now we remove ourselves from that environment, and there's no surprise that the tech companies are laying off, right? Number one, because we're shifting back to a more traditional work environment, right? Where it wasn't what it was a couple of years ago, where the hiring needs were different, right? Add to that a few factors, right? Employee retainment, retaining employees. A lot of people post-pandemic don't want to work.
This is true. This is true. You do
Okay.
have to
There's that part to it, right? Then what these companies also do is offload the hiring process to various recruiting firms and say, you guys do it. Right. So there's what Mike was saying, there's a lot of nuance to what is going on with all this. That's why on some ends of the scale, you'll hear people say, man, there's all these companies hiring, right? There's all these third-party recruiters. Yeah, they're trying to fulfill demands for the companies that have positions open, right? But then the companies themselves had to do some internal layoffs and stuff like that, which then shook up internal confidence, what Mike was just saying. People started getting seeing people getting laid off around them, and then guess what they start doing? Right?
To your point, what happened with the startup sector was that the VC started telling them to tighten up back in 2022, early 2022. This is like February, March, April, and May.
Okay? Q1, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that whole Q1, Q2 time frame, they said you got to start tightening up because the war in Ukraine was causing inflation in other areas, and they were like, "Oh, wait a second, this may impact us." Okay, that's why when Elon Musk took over Twitter, the first thing he got rid of was the amenities. He got rid of the snacks. Why are we spending $10,000 on snacks? Exactly. All the niceties that made people come to work at Twitter, suddenly he just took them away. Okay, that was the first thing he did to try to cut to tighten up the belt. He tried to find other areas to do so. And so other companies got the win too and said, well, we were going to, let Elon Musk, be the bad guy, and then we'll also lay off too, and then say,
ain't that some shit, dude?
Right?
Because that did happen.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. That's why
that literally happened.
Right. So when you go back and read that email stream, you'll start to see what I'm trying to say there.
Okay.
Essentially, it's not just borrowed money. That's a term that's used in the startup sector. That's
really, startup sector, dude.
Right? Because startups are always on borrowed money because they don't turn profit until the product.
That's who it's for. Yeah, that's where you get that term from. We're on borrowed. Well, we're not on borrowed money, but startups are on borrowed money.
Just like people are on borrowed time.
Yep.
Right. So I just want to make sure that when I do these streams, and when we do these streams, I'm saying we're not misinforming people. We're not sending people out there in the manosphere or in the greater Black social media space on a witch hunt, thinking, "Oh yeah, well I heard from so and so, it was because of this." No, that's not true. That's not true. It's just not true. The industry is very nuanced, and that you have to be careful when you try to read the quote unquote tea leaves to try to deduce what's happening in the sector itself, because it's not just STEM. It's not just the hardcore tech industry in Silicon Valley. Even the life science industry is being impacted. The pharmaceuticals and whatnot, they're also going through this, right? And so everybody is trying to tighten up their belts. The company I was working for before that got acquired, I went through an M&A. We had 1,500 employees. They had 100,000. Okay. We both do the same thing. We're both pharmaceutical companies, but big fish eat little fish. Guess what happens to all our jobs? They don't need us. Redundancy.
Yep.
And so company A absorbs company B. It looks like it's layoffs, but in reality, they don't need our skill set and capital because they already have it. They have 100,000 employees. What are they going to do with us?
It's an asset acquisition, dude. Yeah. Like if what they'll do is there'll be key employees that they'll retain, but overall, it's the company.
Exactly.
They can do away with the resource capital.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the human resource capital. Let me clarify: human resource capital.
Yep. But that's basically what I was trying to explain. In case you watched the replay, Edson says, yet despite the layoffs, Microsoft just invested 10 billion into OpenAI. So let me see if I can try to explain this. Companies have a set amount of resources, financial resources available for acquisitions. There's a whole entire department that looks to
Billion
invest
for
and acquire
acquisitions.
and for acquisitions,
Yes.
mergers and acquisitions, M&As.
Yeah. M&A.
And so in the tech industry, like a company like Microsoft or Oracle or Google, that's all they do because they don't want to have to compete or to rehire talent. Well, just go buy another company. Now, on the flip side of this, a company like OpenAI, they're looking to be bought. And so
Yes.
their whole purpose is to build a product that they can actually sell. And $10 billion in investment sounds like a pretty good
I would
sell.
say that that's a damn good sell right there, Mike.
Yeah, that's a pretty good sell, right? And so I don't know how many people work at the company, but let's use WhatsApp for example. WhatsApp had 50 employees, and Facebook invested $50 billion into WhatsApp. That's $1 billion employee.
Right.
Okay.
There you go.
And so again, this just goes into that there's a lot of nuance in the tech industry and how mergers and acquisitions work and how layoffs work and H-1B visas and why aren't they hiring U.S. citizens and so on and so forth. It's a really complicated industry.
Right. Hey, let's bring engineering cannabis in. I'm gonna mute up Mike. I'm gonna start cooking, but I'm gonna be listening in. All right.
Hey, what's going on, Shonda H? Hey, engineering cannabis, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's
Peace, y'all.
going on?
Chilling, bro.
What's going on?
Greetings.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to talk briefly about the layoffs.
Yes, sir.
If they've actually looked at the numbers, because everybody's looking at it as being like a centralized thing to the United States. These are global layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So if you break it down, it's in terms of what it is compared to the U.S. employment and the jobs in the tech sector, it's a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the layoffs, look at if 100% of the layoffs, say 60% came from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that 60%, you have maybe 30% of that are actual tech workers. And compare all those layoffs, it's just a drop in the bucket if you look at what's out there in terms of tech, in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
employment. It's not that, I won't say it's not that bad again. Because I know
Mm-hmm.
people who've been laid off, and 2 months later they have a job.
Yep.
I know tech workers who got laid off today get a severance for 7 8 months. They only got 3 offers
Mm-hmm.
on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these layoffs are either overhyped because again nobody's even talking about this is global. It's not centralized to the United States.
Russia lost 250,000 tech workers last year.
Yeah, and again, when everybody's talking about, and again, we have a lot of jobs in other sectors, tech jobs in the healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
in fast food, in agriculture, in every other sector. There's a lot of tech jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and these layoffs, to me, if you go to Indeed right now and search software engineers, you see 200,000 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Data analysts, 50,000 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Data scientists. You see all these, and then you aggregate all the amount of people being laid off, and you realize it's just a drop in the bucket based on the amount of jobs available. So when I think the fear mongering has been approached with these tech layoffs, like, oh, these tech layoffs are so bad that people are getting scared and saying, do they need to go into tech? And I'm saying there's still a lot of jobs out there for the tech sector, and we shouldn't be so scared.
Yeah, a lot of let's use Amazon for example. A lot of their cuts came from the Alexa division. Okay, Alexa is already a finished built product, right? They already have the Amazon Echo and other sort of Amazon products like the Fire Stick and whatnot that already has Alexa built in. And so the product is already finished. There's not really much that really needs to be done to Alexa to make it better than what it already is, with the amount of employees that they already have. And so, yeah, you might lay off, your customer, your customer engineers and your other supporting staff around the Alexa division, because you don't need them anymore. You already built the product. The product is built. It's ready to go. The only thing you really need is maybe some DevOps people and maybe a support team. But your support team can come from anywhere. You can train anybody up for support purposes. But in terms of the product division, the product developers, that product is already finished. What do you need them for? Let them go. Hey, what's going on, Paul? Hey, perfect.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, so check this out, man. Man, you guys have it 100% correct. I've been overseas for 2 years. I've been watching the news in America, and my God, man, I have started to believe that everything that you see on the news is just to tell you to do something. It's not to tell you what's going on. It's just to tell you what to do. And the news right now is telling tech workers, sit down, don't say nothing, like don't ask for anything else. But literally, I get calls every single day from recruiters. My inbox blows up every single day from recruiters. But I don't talk to 99% of them because it ain't worth my time. Like, tech is going to be, it's going to be more than fine. It's more than fine right now. But like when Google lays off 10,000 employees.
Google has 100,000 employees. Just to keep in mind, that's a 5 to 7 to 10% of their employee base was let go, and it could be for a variety of reasons. There's different departments as to where this is happening, such as their self-driving division. If they already decided that they were going to sell off that product, or they were going to restructure, then that's where those layoffs come from.
See, I think the only thing that's actually really fundamentally changed in the tech industry is that those companies are no longer receiving a bunch of free money from the government. So all of the stuff that they was just spending tax money on, they're like, oh, let's just stop doing that stuff.
For example, Elon Musk is Starlink. Well, guess what? Biden administration says, you want to talk crap? We'll pull the spigot on that, right? And so that's one area where you can say that the borrowed money aspect may be impacting them. But when you start talking about some of the other legacy companies like IBM, Oracle, Salesforce, Cisco, Intel, those are legacy companies. Those companies are 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 75 years old. Those are not startups. Of course, so they're not on borrowed money. They're actually established companies that turn profit every year. And so that's why I said there's nuance in what's being said here in some of these email chains. Let me answer this real quick. T. Rilla says, is saying this is the market correction being too general? Yeah, I think we answered that already. Hey, what's going on, Ronan? Zone. Conscious Code. How much do you guys think this has to do with AI, Chat GPT, and Bard? No, this has nothing to do with it. Those are every business cycle, or every sort of presidential cycle, so to speak. Every 4 years, you have a new entire shiny new technology that comes on to the market, and everybody wants to find their niche with it. And go back 4 years ago, and blockchain was the hot thing. And go back 4 years prior to that, and cloud was the hot thing. And go back 4 years prior to that, smartphones were the hot thing. The iPhone and whatever new Samsung Galaxy Note, that was the new thing. And so every 4 years, every sort of presidential cycle, a political cycle, you start to see a new shiny technology come onto the market, and every company says we have to have it, or we're going to release our own and things like that. And so I don't think it has anything to do with companies adopting AI and then replacing people. I don't think that that's the case. It's kind of hard to replace certain departments with AI. It just doesn't work that easily. Okay.
Yeah, let me real quick.
Yes.
I went from virtualization to building ML systems, machine learning systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you right now, like, whereas the news will tell you that AI is, some all knowing, all powerful, it's not, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're systems. And the reason why they're
Yeah.
trained is because people don't know how to write them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Themselves, because people don't have the programming language necessary to write them themselves. So there's no way that they are going to be implementing them in ways that eliminate large swaths of jobs, because who's going to do that? There may be 3 people on the face of the earth that understand them well enough to write them
Mm-hmm.
at that specific of a level. That's why they are trained. So again, it's just it's like when you hear about a movie that's coming out and you hear about it everywhere, and then it
Mm-hmm.
comes out and you don't hear about it anymore because it sucks, right? Like, it's not that these things aren't great. They are great, but they're not the miracles that they're advertised as being.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, engineering cannabis.
Yeah, AI again, AI and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. It's again everything in AI and all that. Again, I always repeat that it's the data itself,
Mm-hmm.
the source. It's the data. The data. If you have good data, you have good AI systems.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you look at recently, Bard. Google just lost $100 billion because of Bard, because again they didn't train. It wasn't properly trained with good, accurate data,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always going to be a problem. Again, this is where the problem with AI is. Everybody thinks AI is the miracle pill. We're still in the we're still in the beginning of the AI usage. So we're still in that first phase of AI. Again, we have deep learning, we have all that good stuff, reinforcement, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still in that beginning stages of actual implementation of AI. So we just need to calm down. Again, AI is just now, we're taking AI as a miracle pill, but it's not yet there. But we again, we just we're in the phase of understanding what really AI can do.
Yeah, because in this space, you have a lot of non-tech people who are saying like, "Oh, the AI bots are going to come get your job. They're going to come get you." In reality, AI is not Viagra. It's not a miracle like you say, engineering cannabis. And I think there's a lot of misconstruing of what the technologies are designed to do, rather than what they actually do in reality. And so, yeah, Chat GPT, it's a really good product. It's a really good technology, but the thing here is it's not 100% accurate. Okay. There's been many times it has misspelled something or it has retrieved some bad information. And then there's other areas where it does a lot of good things. But the thing here is we in the tech industry can't rely on that and that solely. I can't for me to bring on a new technology into the workplace, that has to go through at least 6 to 9 months of review. Minimum. Minimum, it has to go through 6 to 9 months of review. Just to go through the risk review process. And then you're talking about putting it into non-prod with the DevOps team. That might sit in there for another 3 to 6 months. Okay. And then we have to collect all the metrics and the use cases and really decide whether or not this is a viable product. Does it do what it's intended to do? There's been many times we have adopted technologies where those technologies have failed after going through review, and our money is lost, and then we have to go find a different product to actually fill that niche that the adopted product that we had before did not work. This happens with firewalls. It happens with different applications that says it could do one thing, but then it can't. We call it vaporware. It's just a lot of nuance in the tech industry. And I think in this space, a lot of times people will say certain things that that don't reflect the reality, because they're not in the industry. So that's why I don't like to beat them over their heads and stuff like that. You know, I don't really like to come at them like that sideways, but I just like to make sure that I'm putting this all on a record so that you're not being sold these bad ideas and these faulty, perceptions of what technologies can do and what they can't do.
Because YouTube right now, everybody in YouTube is AI will make you this money, make you rich. I'm like, relax.
Hmm.
This isn't what it is. It's
Hmm.
AI is using the existing data and basically making patterns from existing data, finding patterns and making predictions or automating this process from existing data. If you have bad data,
Hmm.
it's going to get patterns from those bad data. Again, there's bias. There's a lot of issues with AI.
Hmm.
But when you really don't understand it, you make claims about it that doesn't make sense. Because I've seen a lot of claims about AI.
Yeah.
And I said I work with AI on a day-to-day basis. I create algorithms. There's a limit to these algorithms. It's not there yet.
Hmm.
But what YouTube, when you see something shiny, they push it. You see AI will make you rich in 30 days. I'm like, relax. AI is just taking what we already know, all your data and all that, and making it accessible to you, or using it to create patterns. And again, the goal of AI is pattern creation.
Hmm.
It's using existing data to see patterns and maybe
Hmm.
make predictions on those patterns
Yep.
or automate those patterns. It's a pattern recognition. That's AI, taking
Hmm.
mathematical equations and recognizing patterns. And I'm
Hmm.
saying, don't make that it's make people think that's a huge. Is These are just mathematical equations that has been existing for years. We just have a higher processing speed that can process it faster. That's it.
Especially with GPUs now.
Yeah, that's
So.
it. We're just having big processing memories and all that takes these mathematical equations and make it process information quicker. That's it. The mathematics existed years ago. We didn't change the mathematics. What we changed was the processing speed.
And
That's
the
it.
processor capabilities, right? You
Yeah,
started aggregating
yeah,
CPUs to GPUs, and
GPUs, NVIDIA, and all.
yeah,
That is what AI is in a nutshell.
yeah.
All the equations, all the mathematical statistical equations, we just carried processing NVIDIA and all GPUs to make it faster. That was it. To
Hmm.
take data, to predict it faster, to give you different outputs. That was it.
Yeah, because you're gonna need it, right? You're gonna need to
Yeah,
scale it, right? And so if you're
yeah,
talking about, let's say an airplane for that matter, airplanes are pretty massive in size, but
yeah.
when you start talking about planes that can land themselves, yeah, that's going to need a lot of processing power for
Yeah,
all
right.
those moving parts.
So it's again the goal of we've made AI so big now that we don't. If we look really deep into it, when
Hmm.
I tell people it's just mathematics,
Hmm.
and mathematics that existed long ago, SVM, time series equation, all that, and just taking it and giving it a processing speed.
Hmm.
But again, what I always said, there's only 2% of black people in AI. So
Yeah.
now, if our people are just being given all these shiny objects, and we only have 2% people who really understand in our community,
Hmm.
we're being sold. We can be sold anything because
Hmm.
we're not investing in understanding what this technology is.
And whether or not that technology can be used against
Use
us.
That's the problem. We're so invested in the product, the output,
The
but not
consumerization.
but not what's behind it.
Right, right. Let me get to these chats. T Rilla says WhatsApp had only 50 employees. Yeah, they started off with only 50 employees, man. When they got bought, I think they were purchased at like 50 billion or valuated at 50 billion. Either way, they had a high valuation mark. Shaw Willie, MGTOW, Universe, what's going on? Yeah. Conscious Code says that the Brain Trust, thanks for answering. I'm a developer, so I'm not too worried. You always need someone to program the hardest thing. Yeah, you're always going to need developers. And that's the thing that everybody thinks that, Chat GPT or these sort of AI technologies are going to somehow take away their job. I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen. From let's say I'm an auditor and I work with Price Waterhouse Coopers, right? If you have Chat GPT or some other AI technology writing code and doing these multi faceted things, when I do the audit, I need you to prove what this technology is doing is within the law itself. Okay. And so if you cannot prove that, then what's going to happen is you may end up, with some other legal issues. And so these are the sort of things that people are not taking into consideration. Tech is not that simple. It's not like, oh man, let me just spin up AI. You must be out of your mind. You're out of the door the next day, buddy. Let's go to Uncle Stu. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, sir? Can you hear me real well?
I can, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I'm just going to add to this conversation, first of all, I'm proud to see all these educated Black men up here who are spitting technology game. The thing that I would say when it comes to AI is we've already had AI in here in many different areas already in our lives. What we have to do, and I've seen technology go from when I was younger all the way to now, is instead of fearing technology, get invested on both sides of the technological field. I feel that what AI is going to do, it's not going to take away a lot of jobs. It's going to really add jobs. It's just going to shift them. It's just like when robotics came in. You went from people doing all these nuts and bolts to being able to get somebody that can work behind the engines. So I think what we need to do is be pushing, especially these young brothers, to learn how to operate the technology on both the development software and how to make it useful, because AI is still new. This ChatGPT is still new. There's people that still don't really know how to operate it correctly, because if it's just like trying to Google information, if you don't know the right questions to ask and you don't know how to formulate those questions to get the proper answer, you're still going to be stuck.
Yeah.
You're still going to be stuck. So I just wanted to just come up real quick and just say, I'm proud of y'all, support you, and you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
No problem. I'm gonna get off of here. What's up, McTow? Everybody on the panel.
How's it going, Uncle Stu?
All right. Okay, you young brothers, y'all keep on kicking that knowledge. I already put this on my community tab, so hopefully other people will chime in, and if not, they'll catch the replay.
Absolutely. Really appreciate that.
No problem. Y'all have a good night.
Peace, bro. What's going on, McTow?
How's it going, everyone? How's it going? I am more of a level up, sort of take a more of that kind of approach. Since ChatGPT came out in November, I've thrown away all of my plans in 2023. I'm going back to school to get my master's in machine learning and data science.
Oh, dope, man. What your undergrad in?
Computer science.
Dope.
Because it's that important. Since November, I think ChatGPT has over 100 million users. While no, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. Very, very far from perfect. We have voice cloning accessible to the layman. We have text to video accessible to everyone. I think this technology will close the gap between how do I want to word this? Definitely more women in tech, for sure. It's that powerful. When you have a technology that comes around that is forcing the hand of the education system, that is nothing to sneeze at. Like, school districts have went out of their way to ban that website from their computers because of the impact that it has. So yeah, I would suggest for those that are worried to level up and not be stagnant. That's just my opinion.
No, I like the direction that you're going in, and I like the fact that you've you did a hard stop and rethink on what the next trajectory is going to be, based on what's happening at the moment. See, you had the luxury to do something like that. There's a lot of guys in this space who are not in tech that would like to get into tech, but don't have the right direction and the right mentorship to go about it. And so that's the reason why we kind of run these sort of live streams, the tech talks and the space and technology stuff like that, to try to put people, to try to create a radar for a lot of guys and people in general too, but guys, black men in particular, as to which direction should they be going in. I think some guys have a lot of fear because they don't want to fail, and the other half of it is they don't have a lot of social capital, so their networking aspect is pretty low, so they can't get into certain companies or or the industry as a whole, primarily because they just don't have the access, due to the fact that they're not in the sector itself. And so I think there's a lot of room for growth for some of these guys getting in. I think these boot camps, we talked about this early this week. You got to be careful going to these boot camps. You don't necessarily need to have a degree in computer science. We do have a lot of people who I've worked with who don't have, like one of my principal architects. His degree is in music from Berkeley College of Music, but he's an ill programmer. But he made this point that if you can read music notes, you can write code because it's all the same.
I know
It's a cadence.
I know a lot of machine learning engineers who work with me. They're in economics. They have economics degrees, and they can tell you everything about machine learning. I know music majors who can write deep learning algorithms on object detection, natural language processing, reinforcement learning for robotics. I know a lot, and some of them only have mathematics degrees, or again, music major, psychology major. I know a psychologist who got hired by Google because he knew machine learning and utilize it in advertising, in figuring out how people think, utilizing a psychology degree and utilizing machine learning to figure out how people think. And they pay him a lot of money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look at some of the salaries at Google. Some of what those guys are getting paid before they got laid off. And so, let's go to Keep It Techie.
What's up, Mike? What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
What's good with it?
Just hanging in there, man. So, I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, get my thoughts on the topic with the tech layoffs. This is one thing I guess I wanted to kind of get across to people as well. Like, I mean, people need to understand, okay, these companies are in the tech industry. I get it, but they still operate like every other business on the planet. They still have other departments within the organization. So those layoff numbers that you're getting are not all just tech positions or programmers or coders or database administrators or whatever. I mean, they have departments like, I mean, just to give a few examples. I mean, we all know Complex, he works in, HR. So the HR department, they got marketing, sales, legal, operations, all these different areas are, included in those layoffs. So it's not just the people with certs and people that are, doing specific technical jobs. It's from all those other parts of the organization as well, with these layoffs. So it seems like that's been the way people have been framing it, like, oh, all you guys that are pushing tech, you know what I'm saying? They all getting laid off now. Nah, it's people from other departments as well. It's not just those guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't need, because if you have a product that's going EOL, end of life, you don't need that team anymore. And you don't need to support people that, well, I shouldn't say you don't need to support people, but you don't need that immediate team anymore. And so there's two factors that happen to this, and you probably know this too. You may end up reshuffling those people that are product developers on that side, or B, you got to let them go. And that's just the reality. Alexa is a very mature product now. It works. Amazon Echoes, they sell every Christmas, every Black Friday, everybody and their mama got one. And so I think they reached the ceiling with that product, and I think that it was time for them to make a hard decision that maybe now is a good time. If we're gonna tighten up the belt, then it may be time to really let that division go, and keep the few stragglers around. When I say stragglers, I mean people who might be supporting the product. And you can train anybody to support a product. A support person, so it doesn't really matter. But I do think that that's what's happening now. And to your point, there are a lot of middle tier people who got let go. If you look at the reports, and so that's why I wanted to make sure I covered this, because there was some emails that got sent out, man. With people talking about borrowed money and really didn't understand the term or what was happening in the layoffs, the tech layoffs. And I don't like to be an a-hole and really attack people and say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. No, I just wanted to make sure that the information that gets put out here is broken down correctly, and so that people are not walking around thinking that borrowed money is the reason why we have all these problems. No, it's not the case. Cisco is laying off. Cisco laid off 4% yesterday. What I saw.
Disney laid off yesterday too.
Yeah. In fact, Disney was hiring for a lot of tech jobs last summer. I got a lot of calls from them. I didn't know they even had that robust of a tech division, but they do. And so with the streaming services and whatnot, they don't really need a whole lot of people anymore, because you can look at the rates, or I shouldn't say the rates, but the charts have shown that there's a dip in subscribers and whatnot, especially for Netflix, Disney Plus, and all that stuff. Man, they've lost a lot of subscribers because people are going back to work and they're going outside. But look at Regal. Regal is closing like 53 theaters or something like that around the country.
But if you look at where these tech workers are actually going, they're going to Cigna, they're going to McDonald's, they're going to Chick-fil-A. They have tech. Nike right now has a lot of tech jobs open.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to all these places where there are jobs, and they are seeking new tech workers to basically produce new products. So again, it's overhyped. I'm
Because
just saying,
to your point, because those companies are becoming tech enabled.
yeah.
Their products are no longer just regular products. The products are now tech enabled, right? So now they have QR codes, they have pedometers and other technologies built. Yep, IoT functions.
IoT.
Yep, IoT functions inside of them. And so I saw Nike was creating a 3D printed sneaker with some kind of sensors in them. These are the sort of things that matter, right? This is what they're trying to do. Tech enable all products on the market. What's going on, Renaissance, man?
Hey, what's up, Mike? What's up, panel?
I'm chilling, bro.
Yeah. Now I was going to quickly add, I was listening for a little bit. The other thing too is with the recent layoffs, I know you have to also look at a lot of these companies that were laying off. They are the ones who were hiring like crazy kind of during the pandemic. So there was some thoughts that, hey, people kind of got a little bit excited with hiring. But the other thing I was going to say too, even with the tech layoffs, is a lot of these people are going to bounce back just because when you have a lot of those companies on your resume, it kind of helps. B, also it kind of reshuffles the talent. Not kind of like you said, internally they may shift some people around, but if you look at it more on a macro scale, it'll shift talent around. Because I know the company I work at, we're an engineering company, but I would hear people during the pandemic, managers trying to hire, and they're like, hey, I can't match these tech people. Big tech like Amazon, Apple, Fame, basically those big companies, because they're basically like, hey, usually they'd be like 10% above us, but they're like, lately it's been 30-40%, and they just couldn't keep up. So a lot of people got nice perks, nice bonuses. Some of those people may have gotten laid off, depending on how much discretion there was as far as the layoffs. But what it's kind of done is help other companies that aren't as necessarily like they can pay the top dollar to be able to go and recruit that talent. Because I know several companies actually put out messages like specifically targeting like hey, if you're I think I saw a video on LinkedIn, like the SVP of a major company was like, hey, if you were affected by some of the big tech layoffs, like we have work-life balance, this, and that, kind of going down the list of the gamut as far as what they could offer. So it's kind of a reshuffling of the deck there as well, because I think at the end there's still going to be a shortage of engineers and tech people with tech skills in this country, and I don't see that changing for a while.
No, absolutely. And that's right on point. Best Buy is. I just read an article early this morning. Best Buy is closing a good portion of their stores as they go into a more dark store format because they can't compete with Amazon. That rapid scale that Amazon has with robotics and stuff like that. Best Buy is they're on their deathbed right now. They have to make a really critical decision. They waited too long to pivot. In the way to keep up with Amazon. Now, Target and Walmart are a little bit different. They partnered, I know Target partnered with I want to say Microsoft, and I think they may have partnered with Amazon, not Amazon. I forget which tech company it is, but I know Walmart partnered with Microsoft, if I remember correctly. And so in terms of Azure and cloud computing and scale, technologies of scale. And so they're moving into that that dark store format where they can actually ship things same day and get it to the customer quicker. I know they're testing autonomous vehicles and stuff like that. So they're moving more to a tech first company, tech first, and then retail second. Whereas before they were retail first and then tech second, third, and fourth. Best Buy failed to try to pivot like that, and so they're being impacted by that, by not being able to keep up. Look at what happened with Bed Bath and Beyond. That's all poor management from the top.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, with Best Buy, the one area I think that they may have had a chance, I don't know if it's going to be enough to hold them over, is they really doubled down on the whole Geek Squad thing. So really trying to appeal to people who, may not be as tech savvy, or, because I was looking at a TV there, and I was looking at getting it mounted, and they were like, oh, the mounting was like $250, or you do it yourself, or you could pay for like a membership for like $200 or something like that. For Total Tech, which basically covered your install and like any other, there's obviously some limits, but if you bought other stuff from there, from them, it basically covered them coming out and checking on that stuff, installing it. So I think they're trying to basically run that play of, hey, Amazon will get you the stuff, but if you don't want to deal with having to hire somebody, or trying to put it up yourself, they're running that play. And to your point about like technology, ironically, I was actually in Sam's Clubs today, and I was standing in line at the checkout. And normally I've seen how it's evolved over time from it used to be only registers. Now it seems like there's a majority of self-checkout that, with the scanners, where you basically scan, like you're the cashier, scan your stuff in your cart and get out of there. But I was standing in line, and the lady actually came up to me, and she was like, do you have the app? I was like, no. She was like, hey, if you download it, you don't have to even wait in line. So now what they have it is basically you can scan as you go through the store. Like you buy something, put in your cart. You can either scan it as you go, or wait till you get done. Basically use your phone and the scan, it'll basically act as that scanner, scan all your stuff, pay for it on your phone, and then it'll give you a QR code that's generated, and you just show the QR code to the person standing out the door.
That's genius. That's genius.
I was thinking about it.
No, that's genius. I think that's the next step. But Amazon has these autonomous stores where you can just go in, and walk out, and it knows what you purchased based on what you picked up. With OpenCV, these cameras that are hanging overhead, and it knows exactly what you're picking up and what the quantity is, and then you walk out and you get billed for it. That's the future of retail. I don't think people really realize what's going on. That a lot of your retail companies are becoming tech first companies. They're spending a lot of money, and so to your point, a lot of those people that got laid off are being rehired into these non-tech companies, these non-tech companies that want to go tech first now. Even LL Bean and some of these what do you call it, Patagonia, and some of these other companies. These are becoming tech-enabled companies. Let me get to this question right here. Edson asks, Southwest will hire a lot of tech according to their CEO. The CEO said their tech platform is outdated, which caused the meltdown they had. I'm not sure. Is that Southwest Airlines? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, they're the ones. Yeah, Yeah. They had, if you remember, during the holiday season, they had like a crazy amount of flights that got
Oh
canceled.
yeah, okay,
And
Southwest
their
Airlines.
system
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think that you'll probably see a lot more AI get adopted by the airline industry and the travel industry. I think you're gonna see a lot more of that happen.
Yeah, Delta just rolled out free Wi-Fi on all. I think it probably touch all their flights, but their heavy traffic flights. Like when I was flying from DC to Atlanta, they had free Wi-Fi on the plane.
Yeah, because Elon Musk has Starlink, and a lot of those planes can connect now to Starlink and get 5G internet, and so that's what's being adopted now. And if you're Elon Musk, man, that's a that's a hell of a move. That's a hell of a spin move that that you can pull off, because that there's let me see, 25, 30 different airlines worldwide, literally, that fly internationally and nationally. If you can get 2 out of the 3 to buy into it, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of planes. Every company has a lot of planes, so regional and international flights and national flights. So that's where we at, man. Shadow
Well,
observer, what's going
and
on?
they did the
Oh, go
same
ahead, bro.
thing. Oh, I was going to say they did the same thing with the Starlink internet service on cruise ships, because the cruise ships are literally in the ocean
Hmm.
for as high a percentage of time as they can. That's how they make their money. And now they got like huge pipes of bandwidth. And I just I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that right now, if you go into tech, what you're basically learning to do is to sell picks and shovels during a gold rush. Now,
Yeah.
every news organization is going to tell you that tech is laying off, it's a tech apocalypse, blah, 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 blah. It's literally the opposite of the truth. At any point, if you go into technology enabled services and
Mhm.
learn to build, support, deploy, integrate, any of that stuff, every company on the face of the earth is going to need these skilled workers in order to continue to exist over the next 10 years. So
Mhm.
don't rush for gold. Go buy some picks and shovels, get your skills together in technology services and start selling those, because once you learn something,
Mhm.
you could sell it over and over and over and over and over again, infinity.
I
Yeah.
could not have said that
Yeah,
any better myself.
and even with the tech layoffs, I know a lot of people, and me myself, I still get job offers every single week. I got even an offer 3 days ago, of a huge offer, and I rejected it. But again, and I'm in AI, and I get offers because there's not a lot of people in certain sectors in tech, in certain DevOps, AI, and they're lacking a lot of tech individuals who have those skills, and
There's
they
a
need them.
Yeah, there's a lot of network engineer, network analyst roles
Yeah,
out here, because a lot of companies have moved from building to building, and they need to wire up those networks. There's a lot of companies who have they're launching new stadiums around the world, and a lot of new airports being developed. And with this whole broadband being a part of the infrastructure bill, there's a lot of need to roll out broadband and 5G. That's a part of the package. And so they're understaffed in a lot of these areas. Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, they're understaffed. I talk to Verizon folks every day. They're just understaffed. And so I think they're tapping into our networks, like those of us on the panel, because they think that we know more Black people who are willing to work. And the manosphere is missing out on a big opportunity of building up their social capital by networking on in this in this kind of field. Because today you're a network engineer, tomorrow you're a data center manager. You're pivoting into different areas that are very much needed and very vertical at this point. And so
Yeah. My company, it's all hands on deck with digital transformation. They've got multiple teams. I was talking to coworker the other day that we have a tag up monthly. She's basically becoming a Scrum Master. Her background is in human factors engineering, but she's moving over a special project on supporting the digital transformation there. But I mean, every organization is doing it. I saw a job posting with digital transformation within finance, where they're basically developing automation for like financial processes, and the company's spending a ton of money. And even though like people just got budgets for this year coming up, a lot of people got challenged. Even some groups had to do some layoffs. A lot of that was driven by concerns tightening the belt, but a lot of it was driven by too, like, hey, we have to keep putting this money into digital transformation to keep up. So it's no, what you all are saying is 100% correct.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now's the time for guys to really, create their 2023 playbook and really think about how they want to get into the tech game this year. There's a lot of opportunities going to come out from all these layoffs, because after the smoke is clear, they're going to be looking for U.S. citizens to fulfill those roles. And if you don't have that that skill set, you can't blame anybody else at that point.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Especially when there's nonprofit organizations that's willing to pay for your CompTIA certifications.
Oh yeah, that too. I think the Google IT certificate, I think that's an easy come up for a lot of guys in the space. I think if you can get that, man, you can get other things too on and crack, and Google will find you a job in their network, in their database, in their job pool for talent.
Google has a great data analytics certs too.
Yep.
I mean, it's once you get their cert, I know a lot of companies, a lot of nurses who took that course and went into the health analytics, and they're making money in the health sector. So it's there are a lot of good certs out there, and we need more people to take advantage of networking, cybersecurity, AI, and all that, and start looking into those fields. They pay a lot of money, and again, AI, we're only 2% in AI. Only 2% black people in AI. That's kind of sad, but that's the reality I'm seeing now.
It's the mathematics that keep people out.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I was looking at LinkedIn. I saw there's a group I follow called Blacks in Cybersecurity, and they actually had a free program through Morgan State University that was virtual, basically trying to get people in IT. So they did like fundamentals of IT, I think AI, cybersecurity. So yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, because there's a growing demand from a lot of companies because they have to be compliant now. I don't know if you saw the new what is it, HR? No, it's not House resolution, it's a Senate resolution that I think going forth, every company must have some kind of must prove that they have cybersecurity protections in place, basically.
Oh yeah, it's becoming a in federal contracts, it's becoming a requirement. Like kind of like you got to have this system or something like that. Like basically your cyber system's got to be up to par. Otherwise, like they're going to consider that a risk and won't award you a contract.
Yeah, CMMC is the government one. I think it's cyber maturity model certificate. I think you have to prove that you're as an organization that you're doing. If you're going to be doing business with the government, this is what you have to prove that your cybersecurity model is mature. And so I'm just showing this on screen right here. The Google IT certificates. Get on. No relevant experience necessary, 100% remote online learning under 10 hours a week study. And so I'm going to drop this in the chat because I think that this might be relevant to some people who might watch the replay. The IT support certificate, troubleshooting and customer care, networking, operating systems, system admin, security. And so they also have the IT automation with Python. And so that's another area. So yeah, let me drop this in the chat.
And plus, I wanted to take a second too to let people know that you may be experts, you may be experienced in certain areas, but don't ever discount going back kind of to zero zero, but not completely, right? Like I started at a help desk and I grew my career from there. But
Mhm.
over that time, several times when, for example, I went from virtualization to network support to working with machine learning language models. So, like, what'll happen is that technology will change underneath you, and you'll have to go learn a new either virtualization stack, learn a new technology, learn a new programming language. And these are very good entry points for doing that because there's no other industry where like they'll give you a accounting degree for free or, but they will in technology because their need is so great. So it's a good way to go pick up additional skills that will help you to grow.
Indeed, indeed. William or Willard says, I honestly tried CompTIA before years ago. It was expensive and too fast paced with a steep learning curve. I am slow paced and don't ask me to learn online. It won't happen. I mean, man, I'm telling you, um, a lot of your exams are now remote now too, remote proctored, and so you just gotta. I mean, it's up to you and how you really want to go about this, but I'm telling you, I've seen, I've seen guys come out of jail, and get, with a clean, get their record cleaned up, get their background
Facts.
cleaned up, man, and they out there killing it right now,
Convicted
killing it.
felons
Yeah, they got
making
programs
bank.
for this. They
Yep.
got programs for that, right? There's we covered this a few years ago, maybe back like 3 or 4 years ago, man. We did a stream about convicted felons getting into IT. Um, getting your record expunged is the first thing you want to do, but there's a lot of hands-on jobs out there. I met a brother who went through a program. He's a senior print engineer for Rico, RICOH, Rico Systems, and so he manages a fleet of network printers for the organization. Man, he's making bank, man. You know, he can he can tear a printer apart. I'm talking about the big multi-functional printers, the MFPs. He can break those down, man, with his eyes closed, man, and repair them in a way that saves organizations hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, because those printers are very expensive, especially for the companies that still rely on print services. That's still a viable area to get into, but that's he's comfortable with that. I know a couple of guys who are out there doing desktop support, man, in the field. They do 3 or 4 tickets a day and they go home. And their gas and mileage is all paid for. Their cell phone is paid for by the company, and they don't have to interact with anybody directly. They're kind of autonomous and on their own out in the street, man. So, and that's not the only line of work that they're in. They're doing contract work for Comcast, contract work for RCN and Verizon and stuff like that. Putting out files and doing file support tickets and stuff like that. They out there getting the bread. So when you say you don't want to do don't ask you to do online learning, remote learning, I don't know what to tell you, bro. If you're really hungry for this, you gotta go out there and get it. So Willa says, I get it, but I think a lot of folks can't do online. It's still got to be brick and mortar schools. Probably why folks like myself go to the apprenticeship format. Yeah, that's starting to change, bro. It's starting to change.
Yeah, I think one thing people may miss or people may not like about online is if you're more of one who needs like a community to go and do it, or that interaction with people. Some people, you sort of see it at high school. Some people have done really well with online school, and some people need a little bit more of that, human interaction, that accountability, and learning from each other. But Zoom and all those things are making it more integrated where you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not that difficult. Blaze is crazy, man. Blaze is crazy. But yeah, man, that's what we're talking about here tonight, man. Is the tech layoffs, the addendum. I saw the emails go out, and I said I gotta clear the air on this. There's a lot of people who I don't know who that is.
Somebody barbecuing?
I don't know.
It sounds like some water running, possibly.
I don't know. But yeah, I just had to do this, man, as an addendum because I thought that some of the information that was being put out there in that email, man, I was like, I don't know, fam. Just I don't like information being put out in this space that's very questionable, especially when it comes to tech. And so I think I'll close it out here, man. Anybody have any parting thoughts? Any last thoughts before I close out?
My thought is this: in the area of everything, we need more people in it. We need more black people. Again, we need more black people in these areas, not only because they pay well, but it's the future, and we really need black people in certain areas. And again, I'm going to always be a proponent of AI. We need more black people.
Yep.
Only 2% of us are in there. I don't see a lot of people. Again, it's math intensive, but again, only 2%. And AI is everybody's talking about Chat GPT, but nobody's talking about only 2% of those people are in. Only 2% of black people are in that arena. So most likely, people who design Chat GPT are not black people. So that's a problem. We talk about, hey, Chat GPT is the greatest thing, but only 2% of us actually work with them. There's an issue. So we need more people, black people, to understand what we're doing, and that's my own spiel. Just we need more people in AI.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Josh, you got anything?
I have some.
Oh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Invest in yourself. For those of you who have been living on the rock and never heard of ChatGPT, apps like that will replace the mundane jobs. Like customer service could be dead by 2030. I'm dead serious about that. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself, not trying to use scare tactics. I've been telling people to get in tech for the last 20 years, but you don't need a degree in computer science. I'm so glad the industry has gotten away from that, because back in 2005, if you didn't have a bachelor's degree, forget it. We're not there anymore. There's boot camps. There's nonprofits out pay for certs. There's, of course, YouTube University. If you have access to a public library, and most of you do, get a library card. Most public libraries in the country will have a free premium subscription to either Udemy and or LinkedIn, or some libraries even have a subscription to Pluralsight. So there's many free resources. Google has their certificates. Amazon has their training. They have a pretty big training site up for their certifications. Microsoft has theirs, of course. So the money is not an issue. Money is not an issue. It's just simply doing the work, in my opinion. But yeah, please invest in yourself and let's get this money.
Dope.
Hey, Mike, I apologize for kind of sitting on the panel. I got a call from work. I didn't think it was gonna last that long, and I just got off the call, so I apologize. I missed a lot of what you guys talking about, but great stream. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the replay. I apologize, man.
No problem, bro. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Paul, any last thoughts?
Yeah, real quick. I think that what is currently a problem is also a huge opportunity, because if we have very little penetration into the market right now, but like Africa has the youngest population on the face of the earth, well, I mean, all we need to add is a little bit of satellite internet, and there we go. Africa gets to run the next 50 years of the world. So that takes a bunch of African diaspora getting in on tech and becoming tech leaders. And then you go back to your homeland and do it remote, if that's what you feel, like me. So that's it.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Paul. Really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone else who stopped through, man. Please hit the like button if you have not already done so, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.